What's up, YouTubers? Johnny DIY here. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to stain wood like a pro. I'm going to be including some tips and tricks on how to stain pine wood, as well as how to avoid the most common mistakes with wood staining. If you guys are new to my channel, please do me a favor, click the subscribe and notification bell so you can get my new videos. Alright, let's get to it.
Okay, so the first thing we got to do with our wood before you stain it or finish it is obviously you have to prepare it, and that involves a woodworker's favorite task: sanding. Sanding is going to give you a smooth finish, but it's also going to prepare the surface for the stain. It's going to help close in some of those grains and tighten them up. Especially if you're going to be staining any of the end grain, you're going to want to focus on that even a little more and get that really sanded down, because end grain will suck in a lot of the stain. So I like to just use a random orbital sander. You can hand sand, and I suggest using paper between 150 to 220 grit was good. It's also important to get out any of the divots or imperfections, because those are only going to be amplified by the stain once we put that on. Go ahead and make sure we get all the sawdust off of it. You can use a tack cloth if you're really picky and want to get any dust nibs off or anything. Now, the secret to staining any softwood like pine is going to be this. This is a pre-stain wood conditioner we're going to put on the wood before we stain it. This one happens to be made by Minwax, but there is another one made by Zinsser called Seal Coat. That one works good as well. I'll make sure I put links down in the description to this and the other tools and supplies that I'm going to be using today for you guys. So why you want to use that pre-stained wood conditioner on softwoods like pine is because if you don't use it, what can happen is the finish can end up really blotchy looking. That's because the stain is being pulled into the pores at different rates, and softwoods are very porous and known for kind of harder to stain. They're a little more finicky than a hardwood because the wood really pulls that stain in. So the pre-stain is really going to give you a better finish. It's also always a good idea to do some tests on some scrap pieces of your different finishes and everything, so you don't end up ruining that final finish on your piece that you've just finished, because once you put that stain on, it's kind of really a pain to try and strip that back out. So we'll go ahead and pop it open. And it's really thin, this stuff. You're always going to want to stir any stain or finish before using it. Don't shake it, stir it so it doesn't get any bubbles. But this stuff is almost like the consistency of water, basically. What it is really is just a very, very thinned out finish with solvent. Now, I do want to mention that these are specific to the kind of stain you're using. So this one is for when you're going to use an oil-based stain. There is a water-based one if you're going to use water-based stain. The Zinsser product that I mentioned earlier, the Seal Coat, that is a shellac-based product, and it is a wax-free shellac. So what that means is it'll work with either oil or water-based stain. So that one's good to have if you use both of those ones, but you do need to thin that Seal Coat a little with some denatured alcohol if you're using it for this purpose, the wood conditioning. Okay, so what to apply? I like to use just a regular brush. You can use a foam brush or even a rag. Before we go ahead and put that on, let's go ahead and put a piece of tape right in the middle of our test board. That way we can do half and half with the Seal Coat and without the Seal Coat, and I can show you guys the difference. Now what I like to do is dip the brush all the way in and really saturate it. Let's go ahead and do the right side with the Seal Coat. You can put this stuff on thick. I mean, it's like water, but you can really put it on because it's mostly all solvent, so it just evaporates. And the can says that you have to apply stain within 2 hours of putting this on, but don't listen to the can. I've actually put 4 coats of this on before and then let it dry overnight. And then all I did was lightly sand it with some 220 grit, just very lightly, before I applied my finish. And you can actually put it on heavy like this, 2 coats like this. Just kind of brush it out with the grain. I'll do this side too. We'll do 2 different color stains so we can see the difference in how this takes it. As you can see, it does give the wood a little color. Very light finish. Wouldn't give you any protection, but we're just gonna go ahead and let this dry for a little bit. You could apply your stain directly to this right after doing it, but the longer you wait, the better that sealing effect is going to be with the wood. Okay, it's been drying a little while. Now you're gonna wanna take a clean, dry cloth, and we're gonna go ahead and rub the surface. That's just to see if there's any leftover that didn't soak in. But like I said, this stuff soaks in really fast. That's why I said to really put it on heavy, because the wood just soaks it in. You can actually keep applying it until it doesn't soak in anymore. Then you're gonna know that wood has fully absorbed that pre-coat, and then you can rub off any of the extra. It's a good idea to use a good mask when you're handling oil-based stains or that seal coat, because it really puts off a lot of fumes. Okay, let's go ahead and do this golden oak finish from Minwax. These are both going to be oil stains today. Okay, now you can apply the stain with a regular brush, a foam brush, or I like to use old rags. T-shirts or old sheets, any old cotton is really good. So we're just gonna dip it into the stain, really let it saturate that rag or your brush. And then we're just gonna start wiping it on. Here is the unfinished side. And you can rub it in circles, or you can rub it with the grain. It's kind of one of those things that different woods take the stain differently. So sometimes it's best to rub it circular if you really need to get it into the grain. So now we're just gonna leave it with the stain on there for 10 minutes up to an hour. Now the longer you leave the stain on the wood, the darker it'll be, because it'll have more of a chance to soak into the wood. Now I always want to mention, don't just throw away any of your rags or your brushes with the wet stain or finish on them. You're gonna want to lay them out flat to dry, or you can toss them in a metal can with a lid, because what can happen is when these are wadded up like this, they generate heat when they dry, and this can actually spontaneously combust. Make sure you dispose of these properly and safely. Okay, it's been about 15 minutes. Now we're just gonna go ahead and wipe them off. This is the pre-coated side. A little bit came off. This is the... Now they don't look too different, but this non-coated side is noticeably darker, and it is somewhat splotchier. On the darker stains, you're really gonna notice the effect of the splotchiness that it reduces. Okay, let's go ahead and flip it over and do a darker color stain on the back. Minwax Jacobian. I have noticed that these ones, the darker ones, are the most tricky, and they give you the most splotchiness without the pre-stain. I mean, it's like black motor oil. Go ahead and do the no pre-stain side first. And the pre-stain side. Let it sit for a while. Alright, back from letting it sit. Go ahead and polish it off. Oh yeah, you can really tell on this one. Now let's get a look at it. This is the non-pre-stained side. It is noticeably darker and blotchier than the pre-coated side. You can really see the blotchiness. This one just has a nicer look. Give it another look down here out of that light. Here is the non-coated side. You can really see the blotchiness. It just looks bad. Whereas this side looks a lot more even, and that was only with those 2 light coats of it. Like I said, I do 4 coats on a softwood like this pine. I've had better luck with that for an even more even finish. Here's the other side again. This is the non-pre-stained side. You can really see the blotches here, whereas this side, it's just more even, no blotching. You can really see the difference in the light. Now if you do want it, the pre-coated side darker, you can reapply stain to it to get it darker. Now I really think it's worthwhile to do that seal coat before on the wood, that wood conditioner. It really gives you a richer and a better finish overall. So hopefully you found something in this video helpful. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you guys have any questions or comments, go ahead and leave them down below and I'll get back to you. Thanks for watching Johnny DIY. Keep on doing it yourself, guys. Take care.